The sound of champagne glasses clinking and corporate laughter echoed through the hotel ballroom as I stood frozen in disbelief. "Oh, this is just my boring husband," she said, waving a dismissive hand, not even bothering to mention my name, to her new regional director. The conversation quickly shifted to quarterly projections and potential promotions while I was left clutching my drink, suddenly invisible in a sea of power suits and ambition. 15 years together, and this is what I had become, a footnote in her biography. Not even worthy of a proper introduction. The worst part wasn't the humiliation. It was the realization that this had been happening for years, and I had allowed it. Each dismissive comment, each eye roll when I spoke about my day at the accounting firm, each "not now" when I suggested weekend plans. The evidence had been mounting, but tonight made it undeniable. We drove home in silence. She was busy texting about some crisis at work, completely unaware of the seismic shift occurring in my consciousness. Our suburban house looked different as we pulled into the driveway. No longer a home, but a museum of compromises I had made, dreams I had deferred, a monument to the slow erosion of my identity. She went straight to her home office. I wandered into our bedroom and stared at the man in the mirror, slightly overweight, graying at the temples, posture slumped with a quiet kind of defeat. The safe, predictable husband who always paid the bills on time, who never complained when dinner plans were canceled, who had become so reliably unremarkable that I had rendered myself obsolete in her eyes. That night, sleep evaded me. Instead, my mind raced with memories of who I used to be. The college rock climber with dreams of starting an adventure travel company, the guy who once drove 8 hours on a whim to see a concert, the man who had fire in his eyes. Where had he gone? And more importantly, could he be resurrected? Morning came, and with it, a strange calm. I watched her rush through her morning routine, designer bag in one hand, protein shake in the other. "I'll be late tonight," she announced, not asked. "Big presentation tomorrow." I nodded and smiled. The beautiful husband performing his expected role. But something had shifted. This would be the last time I played this part without a script of my own writing. The moment the door closed behind her, I opened my laptop and created a new document. Titled Exit Strategy. This wasn't about revenge. This was about reclamation. If I was going to leave this marriage, it wouldn't be with a whimper, but a declaration of resurrection. She thought I was boring. I would show her, and everyone else, just how thrilling my exit could be. Step 1, financial independence. I began cataloging our assets, identifying what was legally mine, researching accounts that couldn't be traced. Step 2, identity rebirth. I listed every dream I'd postponed, every skill I wanted to learn, every place I had imagined seeing. Step 3, absolute secrecy. The metamorphosis would happen in plain sight, while she was too busy climbing her ladder to notice the butterfly emerging from the chrysalis she'd taken for granted. Over the following weeks, I maintained the facade. I prepared her favorite meals. I asked about her day. I listened. I nodded. I smiled. But each morning after she left, I transformed into someone else entirely. My first stop was a private bank, 40 miles away, where I opened an account under my legal name but with a different address, a P.O. box I'd quietly secured. Small transfers, subtle and spaced, nothing that would trigger alarms. I wasn't stealing. I was separating. I sold old investments, converted stock options, and restructured assets, drawing on every ounce of my expertise as a seasoned accountant. Next came the body. I joined a gym far from our neighborhood and hired a personal trainer who didn't ask questions. The soreness was brutal at first, but it reminded me I was still capable of feeling intensity, of progress. "You've lost weight," she observed one evening, barely glancing up from her tablet. "New diet at work," I replied. She nodded, satisfied. If she had looked closer, she might have noticed more than just the weight loss. My posture had changed. There was fire in my eyes again. But she had long stopped truly seeing me. Weekends became my training grounds. While she worked overtime, I drove 2 hours to a small airfield and began flying lessons. Midlife crisis, I told the instructor. He laughed, unaware how accurate and insufficient that label was. I took up rock climbing again. My hands blistered and bled, but it felt like coming home. I enrolled in wilderness survival courses, studying online late at night while she slept beside me, oblivious to the man disappearing next to her. At rare dinner parties, I became a performance artist. She introduced me with the usual wave and joke. "He keeps the bills paid." Her colleagues laughed. I laughed too because they had no idea. My resume, finally updated after years, landed me a remote position with a European accounting firm, twice the salary, work from anywhere. Then came the gala invitation. "You'll need to rent a tux," she said, sliding the embossed card across the counter. I studied it. The date circled in my mind, not for her promotion, but for my rebirth. "It'll be a night to remember," I said. She smiled, not knowing the truth. In my words, fortune, it turns out, favors the prepared, but sometimes it offers unexpected gifts. 40 days before the gala, while browsing an entrepreneur forum, I received a message from an old college roommate. We met at a coffee shop, 3 towns over. He now ran a successful adventure tourism company. "I'm opening a branch in New Zealand," he said after I shared my truth. "The accounting team just backed out. The position is yours if you want it. Remote at first, then on-site." He slid a business card across the table. "The salary? Double. The location? Perfect. The timing? Impeccable." That night, she brought home takeout and bigger news. She was a top candidate for the executive position. "This changes everything for us," she said, raising a glass. Absolutely, I thought, just not in the way she imagined. The countdown intensified. I refined every detail. I leased an apartment in Auckland, secured international bank accounts, tailored a new wardrobe to fit the body I had rebuilt from scratch. 17 days before the gala, she mentioned her regional director had asked if I'd be attending. "Just smile and try to seem interested," she said, scrolling through her phone. Each condescending word now rolled off me like water on stone. 1 week out, the final piece clicked into place. A digital presentation, created by a boutique tech firm, programmed to activate remotely. Once triggered, it would be impossible to stop. "Whoever this is for, you must really want to make an impression," the specialist said. "Just correcting the record," I replied. 3 days. 2. 1. The morning of the gala arrived like the calm before a storm. She left early to check the venue setup. "I'll meet you there," she said. I nodded, playing the role one final time. As the door shut behind her, I looked around the home we had built, the life we had constructed together. 15 years of memories, some real, many rewritten. Tonight, I would correct the narrative. Tonight, the world would finally meet the man she had forgotten, the boring husband, and the man he had never stopped wanting to be. There was no hatred, no bitterness, only a profound certainty that we had reached an irrevocable conclusion. The hours that followed unfolded with meticulous precision. First, the secure transfers of my remaining personal assets into untraceable accounts. Then, final confirmation of my midnight flight. A red-eye to Los Angeles, followed by an international connection. By the time the gala's applause faded, I would be airborne, unreachable. My luggage had already been sent ahead. Everything essential for my new beginning was waiting on the other side of the world. My phone buzzed. A message from her. "Wear the blue tie. It matches the company colors." Even on the night of her greatest triumph, she was concerned with appearances, how I would complement her narrative. Perhaps the last communication in our marriage that wouldn't be mediated by attorneys. At precisely 3 p.m., I contacted the tech specialist stationed near the gala's audio-visual control room. Everything was synchronized. The presentation, uploaded. The trigger, ready on my phone. Once activated, it would be untraceable, unstoppable unless someone cut power to the entire venue. Technology is remarkably obedient when properly motivated. At 4, the transformation ritual began. A hot shower, precision grooming, careful cologne, accessories chosen with intention. The tuxedo, not a rental but a custom piece, waited on the bed, tailored to the man I had become. With each step of preparation, I shed the identity she had so casually dismissed. Before leaving, I placed 3 envelopes on her vanity. The first contained the legal paperwork initiating our separation, already filed electronically that morning. The second held a detailed financial accounting, transparent, fair, professional, even under the circumstances. The third was a single sheet. Not an apology, not a critique, just an acknowledgement. Some stories must end for others to begin. The gala venue gleamed with opulence, crystal chandeliers, ice sculptures, the trappings of corporate celebration designed to justify the sacrifices demanded. I arrived precisely on schedule, nodded to familiar faces, played the part one last time. Several guests did double takes when they recognized me. The confusion in their eyes, "Who is that?" was deliciously silent. They saw me, but couldn't quite place the man I'd become. She stood at the center of the room, surrounded by executives, radiant with anticipation. Her eyes widened when she saw me, an involuntary flicker of surprise. Perhaps for the first time in years, she truly saw me. "You look different," she said, composure cracking, the boring husband. At the gala, she introduced me with that same dismissive wave. Always dependable, always there. That was my moment. One tap on my phone. The screen behind her glitched, then revealed 3 words. The boring husband, confusion, gasps. Then my voice, calm, measured, images of my transformation, flying, climbing, skydiving. For 15 years, I shrank to fit someone else's story. Tonight, that story ends. Clips of her over the years, reducing me with casual lines. "He pays the bills. He's not into this. He's just my boring husband." Silence fell. The final slide. My new name, my new title, my new life. A countdown. She reached me, desperate. "You can't just leave." "I'm not. I'm arriving. Somewhere else." 0. I placed my wedding ring on the table and walked out. The screen. The boring husband has left the building. Outside, the car waited. "Auckland," I said. "Let's go." 6 months later, she saw me in Sydney. "You seem happy," she said. "I am. No anger, no drama, just clarity. I live simply. I travel. I love honestly. The past is gone. The man she couldn't see, he's just getting started."